Hello, everyone. Welcome to a freaking humongous Snap Take. I'm Glazer of the Snap Judgments podcast. And today, well, I realized that there are three new cards for me today. I am only buying two of them, though. We're going to talk about that, and I'm going to give you a deck for Howard. Two, in fact. Two for Kitty, and then two for each card downgrading from Series 4 to Series 3 today. But before we go any further, I need you to like and subscribe and hit that notification bell. Let me explain why. I'm not just asking you to do this, I'm going to explain why. I'm a smaller creator. I put a lot of work into this. I'm urging you to reap the benefits of all of my hard work. What does that look like? Well, I spend hours poring over the data, looking through Twitter, building decks, finding ways to give you the competitive edge you won't get from just watching bigger content creators. KM Best, that's our boy, he makes a deck. It's all over the ladder in 2 days. Um, TLSG makes a deck. Ladder left and right, right? You get on, you're going to see it everywhere. I make a deck that's successful, and I have. Sounds crazy now, but the Sarah Stature Hawk deck, I posted about that 2 days before it was everywhere in the meta. One of our viewers hit infinite with it that very day when it was completely unknown and its win rate was through the roof. It's already high, but before people knew about it, it was crazy. By subscribing, you get all the new decks before they hit the mainstream. You get all the best takes every single weekday. So, like, sub, ring that notification bell. Trust me. One more benefit, by the way, as we go on. Um, you'd like to hit infinite. And if you're struggling to hit infinite, you're probably not going to get much personal attention from the biggest creators in the game. Over on the Snap Fan Discord, there's a corner, the Snap Judgments corner. If you hit the Hang with the Hosts area, we'll talk you through all your stuff all the time. We have a nice small community. Everyone who hangs out there has started hitting infinite as we work through how to be better at this game. Finally, you want to be the best version of yourself you can be. I just mentioned Cam Best. We've got a Snap Judgments podcast. Cam Best is coming on this Thursday. Episode will be released Friday. What's going to happen in that episode is Cam Best is going to be interviewed about how to be the best version of a Marvel Snap player. How do you take your game from here all the way up to here? That's what we're going to talk about. All right, new card. First card we're going to talk about today is Howard the Duck. 1-2 ongoing. Tap this to see the top card of your deck. I'm going to straight up say this right away. I don't think Howard is great. I spent this weekend covering the Snap Fan Tournament, and I discussed this with Matrum. I discussed this with a few other people, and opinions differ wildly. I don't think Howard is that great. Sorry. I think he's good. I think he's a solid one drop. You're not going to be sad to have him in your deck usually, right? But he's not adding enough value to me to be played over Nebula, over Iceman, over Sunspot, over these other cards. If he's not good enough for that, then I don't think he's really worth it. Unless you're a Galactus player, we'll get to that later. The other new card everyone gets, supposedly later on today, is excuse me, sorry, I'm fighting the last of a cold. Is Kitty Pryde. Kitty is a 1-0 that not you can return, that at the start of your turn now returns to your hand to gain +2 power. Every turn, no matter what. Cool. Kitty's going to be great in several builds, but I think now that she auto returns, she needs a dedicated build because she can't just stay out there. Still, really strong card, has multiple really powerful combinations. We're going to check out where and how to play Kitty. The other new card I'm going to get, this is the only card downgrading in series that I from 4 to 3 that I don't have, so it's going to be my free pickup. Null. Null is a 6-0, ongoing, has the combined power of all the cards destroyed this game. Null's obvious home is Galactus. Longtime viewers know I play Galactus with my friends. A lot of my friends love Galactus, but I don't like Galactus, so I haven't personally bought him. So I've got a Galactus build for you for Null. What I would do with Galactus based on my experience with my friends, and we're gonna take a look at what I plan to do with my brand new card tomorrow. Next up, we have Darkhawk, the single most important downgrade, I think, probably in the game's history. Once he's here, you can build some of the best decks in the game with pure Pool 3, Darkhawk 4-0, ongoing, +2 power for each card in your opponent's deck. And I'm going to tell you not only Darkhawk, but the secret hidden power to Darkhawk decks that nobody else is telling you, no one else is talking about. Next, we have Surfer. Both of these cards are so strong, both Surfer and Darkhawk, that they've already been nerfed. Surfer is a former season pass card. Give your other 3-cost cards +2 power. He's a 3/2. Really powerful card. I hit Infinite with him, not this Nebula season, but last season, and I've got like a 60% win rate with him again. I'm going to show you that deck, and then I'm going to show you the coolest thing one of the friends of the show made. Lastly, we have Sentry, the same friend of the show, the Jolly Roger. Has the sickest Sentry deck. It's great. It'll win you some games, and it's crazy fun. 4/10 cannot be played at the right location, and on reveal, add a 10 power void to the right location. Super strong card. Very cool. Um, Sometimes hard to use, right? Well, we're going to show you exactly how to use him optimally, exactly how to pay him off. But let's get back to Kitty with the first Kitty deck. This is the Kitty deck I am most looking forward to playing. It is Kitty Hawk. This is a Darkhawk Kitty build. Hey, Darkhawk's going down in series. This isn't your Darkhawk deck. This is just Kitty Hawk. Cool. You've got two totally different Darkhawk decks. All right, the basic idea here, and I had to cut Iceman, and it hurt so bad, is to play and replay cards over and over again, powering up your collector and bishop. They're all cheap, getting a little control out of Korg, and then having a ton of power on your Angela, a bishop, and collector. Let's take a look. An ideal turn 1 play is likely Bast. Cool. You Bast, then every card in the deck, every single card in the deck benefits except Falcon and the Sword of Mysterio. Mysterio, however, becomes a 2 for 9 because his clones keep the 3 power. Falcon just gets nothing. So 2/9 is better than 2/4, right? Good. Glad we agree. Every other card benefits. You want to play Bast into, ideally, Angela, and then you start dropping ones on Angela turn 2 and 3. Angela / Collector. You want to get Angela, Collector, and Bishop out. This deck used to run America when it had to see Angela and Bishop on curve. Now it's got Angela, Bishop, and Collector, so it should be totally fine because you would like to see 2 of them. Around turn 4, once you've started dropping things on them, you want to play Beast and/or Falcon to get a bunch of cards back. At that point, obviously, you don't want to get Bishop back. You don't want to get Collector back. You don't hate getting Angela back. Cool. At this point, you're probably going to drop Darkhawk in a lane or just start dropping wide cards. At this point, Kitty Pryde, hopefully costing 0 with Beast, should be relatively powerful, right? Especially if you got that Bast hit on her. She should be a 1/5, 1/7. Extremely strong card, extremely powerful, and every time she bounces, she's triggering Bishop, Collector, and if you're dropping her on Angela, Angela herself. Cool. We get to the last turn of the game. We should have a few 0-cost cards because of Beast. Ideally, we've got Hit Monkey in hand, and hopefully we've got Bishop and Collector out. Last turn, we drop everything. We drop all the extra cards we have, except Hood, unless it's pumped by Bast. You just drop the Demon. And then finally, you drop Hit Monkey. Hit Monkey should be able to get 8 to 10 power relatively quickly. Crazy power, goes wide, insanely strong. Some of you are wondering why Darkhawk is in the deck. 1, Darkhawk with just Bast is a 4/9. He gets 6 power. There's usually 3 cards left in the deck at the end of the game. Nice, quick way to bump him is Bast with 9. The other is if you can play Korg twice or 3 times, he's also fairly big. He can get up to 12 power. This deck would love a Black Widow. Don't hesitate to include a Black Widow. Don't hesitate to include an Iceman if there's any of these other cards you're missing. Would I cut Darkhawk? No, probably not. But this deck should be absolutely sick. This is not, however, the deck I am most looking forward to. This is Kitty Hulk. It is a She-Hulk Kitty Pryde deck. The idea here being, again, you want to play Kitty early, Beast her back. You're trying to go relatively wide. As soon as you've gone wide enough, you want to play Moon Girl and double up your powerful cards, ideally the Demon, Kitty, Hit Monkey, She-Hulk. You double them up, you skip turn 5, you play ideally 2/1/9 She-Hulks, and a hit monkey. If you've got Quinjet out, the hit monkey gets cheaper. The She-Hulk can still be 0 because her own energy doesn't limit her to 1. Um, and hopefully a bunch of 0 cost 1 drops to go with it. If you got a 1 cost Mysterio because you duped with Quinjet, etc., etc. A Carnage that already ate some Mysterio clones is really nice here as well. Kitty here does not have any bonus synergy. She's just a really, really powerful body that auto bounces herself. A copied Kitty Pryde, if you can get her out on 1 and be bouncing her regularly, is going to be extremely strong. It also is an amazingly good counter to Nebula, opposing Nebulas, while your own Nebula should be able to sit there and keep gaining power. I've played this deck, or a version of this deck. I wish I knew the creator's name. Please excuse me. Someone tell me in the comments this player's name. They went undefeated in the April SnapFan Open Swiss with a version of this deck. One card, I believe, only off. Instead of Kitty, it was running Iceman. Should work even better with Iceman. This deck is so powerful. All right. I will be playing these decks with Kitty. I will report back to the viewers about how good they are. Promise. Next up, we've got the card I'm not getting. Your brand new card that only some of you are getting, unlike everyone getting Kitty, Howard the Duck. This is Ordinary Harry's Galactus. I featured a version of this in yesterday's video. It was running Forge. I replaced Forge with Howard. With Iron Lad and Destroyer in the deck, Howard should be extraordinarily useful. Very simply, you don't want to Iron Lad into Destroyer, right? That seems like a really bad call. You also want to know to be able to snap when you've got Galactus coming, when you've got the perfect hand for Shuriing something, and so on. That is why Howard is a perfect fit in this deck. Is he going to get blown up when you blow up your Nova? Yeah, but Galactus's goal is to blow up everything anyway, so don't let that be a way to stop you. You're not running Killmonger. You're running a bunch of other destroy cards, so you don't have to play Howard in a lane you're planning on using your Carnage, Venom, Deathlock on, at least until later in the game when you no longer care. This deck's win rate is crazy good without Howard. I think Howard makes it so much more consistent. This is the deck I fear. I'm worried that this is the deck that finally pushes Galactus up to the level where the complaints match the success and the play rate's already so high that this becomes the meta deck. This deck is sick. I'm not sure why they pushed Venom into it, but we're here now, so get yourselves ready. Also, really cool thing about this deck, there's no ramp. Galactus is a turn 6 play. When you've got your like Shuri Nimrod, you could drop it's an auto 22 power in a lane type thing. It is a very cool way to go about this. The next Howard deck is one you're not going to find anywhere else. This is my idea of Howard Dracula Dump. So my problem with Dracula Dump is I'm stuck trying to guess what numbers I'm going to see later to figure out how much I want to play, where I want to soak on Sunspot, what I need to do to make sure the last 2 cards in my hand are Infinite Destroyer. I need to get rid of everything to get that Dracula payoff, right? And then have Infinite or Destroyer get discarded. Well, Howard gives me the information I need in order to know exactly what I need to play to be on curve to get rid of all of my cards. It lets me know for sure if I'm going to see Dracula relatively early. So if I know I'm going to see Dracula and I've got the hand set up, I can snap. It lets me know if I'm going to see Khazar. So I want to armor my 1-drops to make extra sure they're safe from Killmonger. So on, so forth. Howard should be absolutely insane in this deck. It can also let you know on turn 5, this is a rare play, but it happens, that you're going to draw your Infinite. If you've got Sunspot on the board, you could always just pass 5 for that Infinite play. Howard should be extremely powerful in this deck. This deck looks really, really strong. It's not my preferred archetype, but Zoo is always competitive. If you're in early pool 3 and you struggle, Zoo is an excellent place to look. I'm aware that I'm adding a pool 5 and a pay card to what's usually a pool 3 only deck. You don't have to play these cards. This deck works no matter what. I think Howard, excuse me, again, that cold. I think Howard gets you to infinite with this deck. I think Howard takes this deck up another level for your snapping and retreating. This is my take on Galactus. This is my best bet on your classic Galactus build. This is where You play Null. This is where everyone plays Null. If you're playing Galactus, and like I'm going to send this to all my Galactus people, I just want you to know this is what I think you should be doing, unless you want that turn 6 Nimrod play. This still has that play, but what it also has is, ready? Jeff is here only for playing on top of a Spider-Man or Professor X. They Professor X or Galactus. Professor X is ever right now. You can just drop Jeff on top. Polaris is in like one of the top 10 played cards in the game right now, right? You don't want a 2 drop down early so that can get that so that Polaris can pull it into your Galactus lane and just ruin your life. Great. So you've got your Electro play line. Your Electro play line goes one of several ways. You can Electro, and then Doc Ock, Galactus, Null. That is the classic. That is the easiest thing in the world to do. It wins a ton of games. You can also Electro, Shuri, Destroyer. You've now got 30 power, right? Taskmaster last turn, have 30 power in 2 lanes. See how that helps you win the game. Destroyer is also going to kill your 2 cards on the board, right? Which isn't a ton, it just brings death down to 7. But if they're playing a death deck, they try and wave you or something, you now have both Taskmaster and death as viable options. Pretty good, right? Great. What else can we do? Well, the other really, really obvious play here is Wave into Galactus. Some people don't like the Spider-Man after Wave into Galactus. I understand that they say it's a max 2 cubes. I say 2 cubes is good. I see no reason not to. You can also, excuse me, you can also, Electro into Nimrod into Galactus for a 12 power lane. Often your opponent can't do a whole lot about that if they've been playing elsewhere. So on, so forth. There's just a lot of things this deck can do. You can Shuri Doc Ock, and then if you accidentally end up pulling a Shang, you've got a 20 power Null at the very least. There's a million little play lines. This is, I think, what I would play with Galactus. Again, I don't own Galactus. I've played Galactus on co-host Roy's account. I've watched all of my Galactus loving friends, for reasons I'm not clear on, play the crap out of Galactus. This is what I would do. The one change, excuse me. I think this is actually really important. I don't love Death in Galactus. I think Death is severely overrated. I might run America for the extra consistency in hitting Galactus. Follow your heart. If you feel like you need Death, Death is a decent Null backup and really cheap on those last turns. But otherwise, you'll be fine. Next up, we have Bounce Destroy. I believe this is, oh my gosh, Lobster's deck. So Lobster's deck is fundamentally saying, I'm going to play the bounce early game, or at least some of the bounce early game. Kitty could easily be Iceman here. It's not for me, but Kitty could easily be Iceman. Try and bounce Yondu at least 2 or 3 times. If you can play Yondu 3 times, that's 3 dead things for Null, cheaper death, etc. Once you can always kill your 1-drops, Hood, Iceman, and Yondu, although you would probably rather not kill the demon. With Killmonger, as you're bouncing things back and forth. If you can get an early Shang off, that's amazing. Your backup play on turn 5, if you're not getting into your combos, is Wave, because Wave should, with this deck, allow you to play She-Hulk and Death, which I don't know, seems to me, or Null and She-Hulk, or Null and Death, etc., etc. But or Shang and She-Hulk or Death, all of which seems to me like a pretty good deal. Now, one more important note about that Wave play, though. Rumor has it, I guess this is important for the other Galactus deck as well. Rumor has it Wave is getting some kind of nerf. There's a suggestion that she may end up costing 4 or something else that would break up this deck. If it does, it does. Then I'm going to be really sad I got Null today of all days. But here we are. That's what we've got. I'm hyped to play this deck. Would I play this deck if I were below Infinite? Probably not. At Infinite? Oh, yeah. I'm all about this. Okay. Next up, we have the deck I had Infinite with this season. There's 17,000 versions of this. I decided to feature one without Iron Lad, largely because I'm featuring enough pull 5 cards at this point. Some people run Nebula here. Look, most people run Nebula here. Win rate on that version is phenomenal, right? And this version has look a slightly worse win rate, but not significantly worse. 916 games is not shabby, right? I hate Infinite with this deck this season. It works great. If you are seeing a lot of the mirror, Ghost wins it for you. If you are seeing a lot of certain cards that will ruin your life, Ghost is the goal. Um, Ghost is also phenomenal against Death Wave because then their wave goes off first on five, and if their wave goes off first on five, Black Bolt will chuck all their cards across four, right? So you've got a great chance of Black Bolt hitting one of their key cards, hitting like their She Hulk on that turn. The other obvious benefit is that Shang and Enchantress go off. Nebula's great. Don't hesitate to play Nebula instead. Um, if you're running Nebula, I don't hate the take out Miles and take out what's the second thing people are taking out? It's take out Miles. Oh no, it's take out Miles and just don't cut Nebula and run like Doom and Iron Lad. That works. Oh no, sorry, Nebula stays then. Miles goes, Shang goes, and then Iron Lad and Doom go in. That version just won the Snap Fan Open. Again, I commented on that tournament and did the post show. That will be in the description below. Take a look. I think you'll like it. That is obviously the meta deck. I fully expect this deck to get nerfed, but unless they nerf Darkhawk himself, I don't think there's going to be a big change. Now, let's talk about the secret hidden power of Darkhawk. The hidden power of Darkhawk is Rock Sliding Korg. And you're like, well, that's obvious. Well, let's think about why. This deck is extremely powerful, right? There's 1,000 things this deck does that are so strong right now in the metagame. What makes it so hard to beat? One of the main things is if you play Korg, and especially if you can get Rock Slide out on 3 with Zabu, but even a Rock Slide on 4, your opponent is almost certainly drawing at least one rock. You've now drawn one more real card in that game than your opponent. And if they draw 2 rocks, you've drawn 2 more real cards in a game, that opponent. Not only is this deck strong, but it's asking you to beat it while playing it, while having 2 less of the most significant resource in the game, 2 less of the way your deck can even work. That's what makes this deck so hard to beat, and that's what makes its best anti matchup very, very often either Patriot if it doesn't see Enchantress, because then those rocks at least have some value, or Thanos, which can hopefully just draw and cycle through the rocks. Everything else runs into severe trouble because the rocks mess up your draw, and it's hard to beat something this powerful when they have card advantage on you. All right, next up, again, unless specifically nerfed, this is a straight up pull 3 Darkhawk. Again, as soon as Darkhawk goes down, I know Zabu is higher, but you do need Zabu for these decks. Sorry, Darkhawk and Zabu are besties. Feel free to go get yourself some Zabu if you haven't bought him as a season pass card. He's 1,000% worth it. I know he comes down in June, but like 3,000 tokens for Zabu. He's one of the best cards in the game. This is a nice, simple control list. It's running Sarah, basic control, and it's running Rock Slide and Darkhawk as a power combo. Uh, it's a worse version of the last deck, right? It's got Killmonger instead. If you're dying to 1-drops for some reason, play it. If you don't have stature, play this. This is fine. But this is just a basically worse version of the previous deck. Still, if we scroll down, I just want to show you this just because this is how silly Darkhawk is. Season 12, the season we're in, this worst deck has a 57% win rate and a 0.53 cube rate. Just saying, Darkhawk is overpowered. Finally, Surfer. This is my current Surfer list. I'm going to explain to you the like 2 or 3 changes you can make and why I'm doing what I'm doing with this deck. This version is not terribly played, as in it is straight up my version and no one else is using it. I've got a 60% win rate with it with a great cube rate. It's over on my Untapped profile. I mostly use SnapFan. I use the SnapFan when I'm on my phone, but when I'm at work, I don't want to like kill my battery, so I don't use the SnapFan tracker at work. When I'm at home, it the Untapped auto runs, and so I've got a 60% win rate with this. The least important card is Scorpion, so I'm going to explain the rest of the deck first. Ideally, you're getting a Nova down either on 1 or 4. You're hopefully getting either 2 drop down. I prefer Scorpion first, but I don't really care. Either two drop is fine. On 3, your perfect drop is Storm into Juggernaut. Polaris is also fine. Brood is also fine. I will very rarely play Maximus, Killmonger, or Juggernaut or Rogue on 3 alone. Um, I'd have to have missed absolutely everything else. But if I did, I would probably, depending on what the opponent is playing, play Juggernaut first and then go to the others. Cool. On 4, I'm playing again whichever of the threes I didn't. Ideally, if Storm Juggernauted, and I will that will almost always be a snap condition. I'm aware Doom is in the meta. I don't care. I'm willing to lose cubes when that happens. 5 is usually Sarah, and if not, it's a 3 and a 2 just fine. And last turn is supposed to be Surfer. What do I do with Surfer? Well, the main combos with Surfer. The obvious ones are Bruto Maximus. Those are just big power combos, right? Um, there's also the Killmonger into Surfer. Give 1 to the whole board from killing Nova, and then Surfer. That's now just +3 to the whole board. Seems like that's previous Surfer. Pretty good. I will Juggernaut if I haven't Juggernaut in Storm Lane to make sure I win a lane with very minimal commitment if I can. And I will Rogue a Devil Dino, etc. lane. The one time I do play Rogue on 3, I'm not scared to Rogue a Zabu. That will often be back breaking for the opponent. Cool. Um, Previously, when I had Infant with this deck, Rogue was Mr. Fantastic. The meta has shifted enough to make Rogue better at this point. And the last important thing is Scorpion is Scorpion for now. Scorpion can easily be Goose if that's your preference. I find that Surfer giving +2 instead of +3 means that the Scorpion is often the difference, but Goose is also excellent in this spot. And in a week, High Evolutionary comes out, and Goose will become Luke Cage to make sure I don't get -1 to death by High Evolutionary decks. This deck is going nowhere. It's going to be top of the meta for a long time. Oh, it's also, besides Jeff, all pull 3. Do you need Jeff? No. Jeff could be Luke Cage. Jeff could be Goose. He was a month ago. Just fine. And then you've got a pull 3 deck that can compete with anything. Second to last deck of the day, our boy, the Jolly Roger, had a person hit infinite with his insane build of Symbiote Surfer. It's got the Destroy package, and then it so happens that 3 of the Destroy cards cost 3. So you get to throw Surfer into it. And if you're going to throw Surfer into it, you add an extra couple 3 drops, right? Great. Sarah fits with Surfer, Nimrod fits with Destroy. But also, let's say you don't see Surfer last turn. You can Sarah on 5, then play Nimrod Carnage, Nimrod Venom, Nimrod Deathlock, and throw. If you're throwing Nimrod Deathlock, you've basically played Poor Man's Doom, right? All of these things are extremely effective. This is the deck I've been screwing around with all day today. It's so fun and so powerful. I really, really want you to check this out and try it. I think I might do a whole video just on this deck and actually get some gameplay. I very rarely just do straight gameplay videos. I feel like explaining is better because then you have to think about what I'm saying as you play and not just try and copy. And I think it makes people a better player. I'll probably end up compromising at some point soon and doing like one game per single deck video. We'll see. Not really my thing, but we'll see. Last deck, Jolly Roger's other deck. I love this deck. This is Hellrider. It does not need Kang. It is running Black Bolt and Stature and Sarah. The idea here is very simple, right? You've got Demon, the Hood and the Void for Viper or Carnage. You've got Moon Knight and Black Bolt to make Stature cheap. You've got if you don't Moon Knight something away, Black Hat chucks herself, so Ghost Rider will bring it back. Kang gives you information. Kang should probably be Enchantress if we're going to be totally honest at this point in the game. And you on 5, you'd like to Sarah and then be able to, if you've Zabooed, you'd especially like to Sarah because then you can play a Sentry once the right lane is already full. You can Ghost Rider to bring back something nice and big. If not, there's always Black Bolt on 5 into Stature on 6 and 1/7. That's a 15 power play over the last 2 turns, along with whatever the heck else you do. Stupid strong deck, stupid fun. I strongly urge you to play it. Look, I'm infinite, so I've been in Jolly Roger mode. His decks win a lot, but they scare me because like they're just crazy. But the Jolly Roger is the Snap Show over on TikTok, he's basically the king of Marvel Snap TikTok. You should check him out. All right, that's today's show. Hopefully, this provided you value. If today's show provided you value, please do me a solid. Subscribe. If you'd also ring that notification bell, I'd really appreciate it. We are at Snap JudgeCast over on Twitter. We release a podcast of like 2 hours of super in depth Marvel Snap talk once a week, and we will see you tomorrow for another Snap Take.